In this presentation, we are going to talk about fat and SNF based milk procurement process and a milk standardization process. Dairy industry faces the challenges of tracking inventory of fresh milk based on the combinations of SNF and fat percentage. Milk is a unique product which gets classified by fat and non-saturated fat content in the milk. State cooperatives are supposed to base the price paid to their farmers on this percent combination, and any enterprise solution must have a capability to track inventory and incidental pricing based on this combination. This presentation elaborates how JD Edwards Enterprise 1 addresses this particular aspect. The milk procurement typically has got cooperative societies and individual farmers who deliver the milk at a milk collection center. When the milk is delivered, the collection center analyzes the milk for fat and SNF content. The payments are based on fat and SNF content combination at the rates periodically published by the government or by the associations. Many countries have got a practice that for a given combination of fat and SNF percent, the specific rate is to be paid to the farmers. Let's see how JD Edwards addresses these aspects, and we'll start from the setups that you are required to do in order to handle this situation. JD Edwards has a way to handle multi-attribute products. The product could be based on the attributes which might be same, but there would be similar variations. Milk typically falls into this category where you have two attributes, SNF and fat. These attributes remain constant, but the percentages might vary, and because of the percentage combination, you have item code number which is different. You have the pricing and the costing could be different. You have the way you handle it in the manufacturing could be different, because the recipes to make it as a standardized milk would differ from based on the combination of these attributes. This particular functionality is called segmented or matrix item functionality. So let's look at how do we handle this. This is an example of how the published rate looks like. So it's a two-dimensional matrix where you have an SNF percentage in the column, and in the rows you see the fat percentage, and for given combination the procurement pricing would vary. The price that is to be paid to the farmer will be based on that combination. Now, in order to handle this, how are the items created in JD? You use the functionality called segmented items. So you take the item code and specify the three segments. The first being a constant value like milk. The second could be 5 digits in size with a decimal point included in it, which could have predefined values coming from the user defined tables, UDC table, which could have all the variations that a fat percentage could have. And a third segment similarly might have another UDC table attached to it, having all the variations that an SNF percentage might have. So when you construct this kind of segment and a template, the item numbers can be created. It's a one-time exercise, but then you can use the benefits are on a continuous basis. So during implementation, you typically would define these three segments, define all the possible combination of the items based on the values coming in from the UDC table for segment 2 and segment 3. The item codes would typically look like how the slide says at the bottom. First segment being milk, which is constant, followed with 4 digits which you see in blue color of fat percentage, and then you followed with the red color font which is an SNF percentage. For every combination there would be an item code that would get created. So your item codes would look like this. The item description would define adequately what is the percentage of fat and the percentage of SNF, though the item code itself embeds these values in the code. The purchasing price could be based on this combination for specific item number. For a given costing method, you could define the purchasing price of procure to pay would work like this. You have milk which is received at a collection center from farmers or from cooperative societies. The milk is analyzed, and then you enter based on the analysis, based on the percent finding that you have in the analysis. You pick up the right code and enter a purchase order with appropriate item code and the quantity. You receive the item and the stock gets updated, and then of course you have the supplier invoice match and payment to the supplier. So your purchase order would typically look like this. You will have a supplier number. You will define, you can also construct your template. So you can go to the template functionality from the row menu. The template will have, you can pick up the right template or right item depending on what you want to do. So you pick up the right template. You will have all the items. So we are here in this example, we have picked up a template for fat percent as 4 with all combinations of SNF percent. So all the items will appear so that you will not mix it up. So based on a given attribute, you are picking up all the possible SNF combinations in this case, and you define your quantity and the appropriate unit of measure. The quantity is entered for the appropriate item, and based on the setups for the costing, purchase price would get retrieved from the table. You protect the cost field so that nobody can change it. The purchase order is printed and handed over to the supplier, and it will have all the pricing as well as the item description with X percent of fat and X percent of SN. Then you do a receiving in JDE Edwards, so you complete the receiving process. The stock ledger gets updated for that particular combination, for that specific item. System will keep a track of receipt and payment, so it gives you, what was received or what was rejected or what was vouchered, not vouchered, all those combination, both quantity as well as the amount. System would keep a track as a standard functionality over the purchase orders and the receipts, and also who are the functionaries who have analyzed and created a purchase order and who has received it. Thereby brings in a control over the creation as well as the receiving process. Supplier then submits the invoice. The invoice is matched against the open receipts. So you have 3 open receipts and you pick up which is the right one for which the supplier has given the invoice. The prices are protected, so you can't change them. And you apply that to a particular invoice. So the open receipt gets applied and a voucher gets created. Immediately the supplier ledger reflects that this has been vouchered, and then your voucher summary can be seen from the supplier ledger, where you can track whether the voucher, what is the voucher created, when it was created, what is the amount, what is the invoice number, and what is the purchase order number that got matched. On a manufacturing side, also you have different recipes, different additives that you have to add to a collected milk, so that you can bring in a standardized milk. You can manufacture a standardized milk which is an input to any item which is arising out of the milk. So for instance, you are making an ice cream, you require a standardized milk which has to be used. So the standardization is a manufacturing process. So you typically create the work order for standardization milk, which is a process work order. The process ingredients are entered as input, So you typically take what is the milk percentage, the specific item code with a specific fat and SNF percent, and depending on your formula, you will add the skimmed milk to make it a standardized milk as a product. So these can be flexible based on the quality of milk that you have received and the amount of skim milk that is required to be added by way of a calculation. Most of the industries, most of the dairies use Pearson square method or any other similar method. The order is completed. So you have a part list and you have of course the labor and various other aspects of the manufacturing process that you do in a normal way. You do an order completion and you have a co-product as standardized milk, and there could be another co-product like fresh cream. Depending on the combination, depending on the quality of milk, the yields would vary. The entire process is addressed by JD Edwards. There is no customization whatsoever required, and a customer can use out of box product functionality to achieve this particular objective. In case if you have any suggestions, any queries, these are our contact details, and you are free to call us at any time or write to us, and we would surely be happy to respond to you. Thank you very much.